Assalamu alaikum everyone. So today's lecture is lecture number 14, and it will be about the IP addresses, and we will go further into the details of the network layer, and we will discuss the addressing scheme which is being used in the network layer is IP address, and we will further explore how the IP addresses are made up of and what is the purpose and how they works and how the IP addresses are worked, and then we will look into the concept of subnetting to increase the utilization in network, to increase the number of subscriber in the network. So we have discussed the network layer so far, and before the network layer we have discussed the upper two layers, the transport layer and the application layer. So a network layer functional devices will be called a router or a layer 3 device, and host router both have some functionalities. The router will be doing the routing and forwarding of packets, and host will be requesting to forward the packets, and the functionalities of network layer we have discussed in a previous lecture. Let's discuss in this as well. So there will be in network layer there will be routing and forwarding of packets, and how the routing will be done. It will be done using the routing protocols, and the routing algorithm or the protocol will determine the forwarding table, and based on the routing algorithm, a forwarding table will be computed, and then the packets will be forwarded onto the particular outgoing interface of a router. So the path selection is done, the best path or the optimal path is done by selecting a best path or an optimal path using an routing algorithm. A routing algorithm or a routing protocol, the most famous three routing protocols you can see here are RIP, OSPF and BGP, and based on these routing protocols a forwarding table is computed, and if an update suppose an update occurs in a network, suppose a router has disconnected, or its link has been down, or a new router has been added, so an update, in case of an update, the routing protocol will update its subsequent forwarding table as well. Apart from routing and forwarding, the two key functionalities, the network layer perform a very famous type of addressing which is called an IP protocol, which is based on an IP protocol. In this, an addressing convention is being determined, and a datagram format and packet handling conventions are being laid down. So based on this protocol we will be going on to the today's lecture, and we'll be discussing about the addressing conventions and how the packets are being handled. And also in order to report the error, apart from the UDP checksum or the TCP checksum, network layer has a error reporting protocol called ICMP, and it's basically used for signaling, and it's used at router level. So in today's lecture we'll be discussing only about the IP protocol and how the addressing conventions works in an IP protocol, and how packets are being handled, and the datagram formats. So let's begin our formal introduction to the IP address. IP addresses are of two types. They can be of version 4 or version 6. Version 4 IP address consists of 32 bits, and version 6 consists of 128 bits. So in version 4 there are 32 bits for the host and router interface, and in version 6 there are 128 bits for the host and router interface. So what is an interface? Firstly define it. Interface is basically a connection between a host or a router and the physical link. So for example, your Ethernet card or your wireless card is basically an interface. So a host can have either a wired interface or a wireless interface. So host host or your laptop or your desktop, you can have either an Ethernet based interface, and your Ethernet based interface is usually called your network interface card, and in a laptop or a desktop it usually consists of one Ethernet interface and one wireless card or a wireless interface. So typically a host has two interfaces for connecting a network. Um, Either it is of wired or wireless, and in a router there are many interfaces, multiple Ethernet interfaces and wireless interface as well. So a router can consist of multiple interfaces, as you can see in the diagram as well. That here is our router. You can see it is connected through this network using this interface, and it's been assigned some address, and this is a wired interface, and this is also a wired interface. So there are three interfaces of a single router in this example, and however the end systems has only one interface in this case, and they can have a wireless interface as well. So the IP address is associated to each interface, for each router interface as well, and for each host interface as well. So you can see here this host has assigned IP address of 223.1.1.1. So this interface or this network interface card of Ethernet of this system has been assigned an IP address of this, and you can see in this system as well, and as well in this. And however a router has three interfaces, so different IP address is assigned to each interface as well. So this IP address is of version 4, and there are 4 octets of bits. You can see here, this is your first octet, this is second octet, this is third, and this is fourth. Or you can see 4 bytes for first block, second next 4 bytes for second block, and then third, fourth, and fourth. So there are 4 blocks or 4 octets, or 4 bytes for each block of IP. So you can see in IP version 4 there are 4 blocks or 4 octets or 4 bytes. So first 4 bytes will determine the class of an IP address. So how actually the interfaces are connected, you can see here now. These host will be connected through a switch, and switch is a layer 2 device, and then this switch will be connected through a wired interface to the router. So in this case you can see a switch also has many interfaces and is connecting multiple host system to the router. And in this case, in the second one, you can see a wireless interface or a wireless base station. So for now we don't need to worry about how one interface is connected to another interface. So how the data flows in a network layer device. As soon as a router receives a frame, firstly it checks the MAC address to see whether this received frame has been addressed to him, and if it matches the MAC address of the router, then it will pass the packet to the layer 3 device, and it will match the destination IP address compared to its routing table to find a suitable match, and then the packet will be placed in next hop. So you can see the frames are being transmitted. Let's begin our demonstration using this example. So in this you can see X end system and a Y end system. So X is basically a sending entity or a source, and Y is a receiving entity or our destination. So we will begin our communication from X and we will end our communication at Y. So how this communication will work? Firstly, a user will type the data and the message will be forwarded from the application layer to the session and presentation layer in an OSI based model. In this case, if the TCP/IP model is considered, then these two layers are skipped, and here as well. Here I would like to mention that only in N system all the 5 or all the 7 layers are part of a N system. However, in case of the core devices, first 2 or first 3 or maximum core device can have 3 layers. So firstly, X will initiate the data, then it will pass on to the transport layer, which will either transport it using a TCP or a UDP service. So and then it will pass on to the network layer. But network layer here it will do the packetization. It will insert the source IP, the IP of X, and the IP of destination, which is Y. So it will append the source and destination IP, and it will append the packet numbers as well at the transport layer, and then it will pass on to the data link layer, which will append the MAC address of X and MAC address of Y, and then will be passed on to the physical layer. Then physical layer converts this receive frame from the link layer into bits and into much needed encoding format or the data flow format. Then receiver then first router will receive the packet. So what here its physical layer do is convert the received bits into the frame and then deliver it to the data link layer, which will match the data which will match the frame using the source and the destination using the destination MAC address. If the match is occurred, then will pass on to the network layer, and network layer it will match the destination IP and then pass on to the appropriate outgoing interface, and same reverse process will occur at the B and C as well. So at the receiver at the Y or the receiver or the destination entity, firstly a physical layer will work in such a way that it will convert the bits back to the data link layer, and it will check for the destination MAC address and then pass on to the network layer, and it will check the data for the destination IP address and then pass on to the transport layer, which will check whether it is a TCP packet or a UDP packet. If in case of UDP packet, the packet will be received, and in case of UDP, in case of TCP, the packet will be checked for. In case of UDP as well, checksum will be performing its working as well. In case of TCP, it will check for the segmentation arrival order as well, and will send the acknowledgement and so on and so forth. So you can see that's how the network layer works. So how the IP datagram format, let's discuss about the IP format. Suppose the form of version we are using is version 4, which consists of 32 bits. So we have firstly IP protocol version number to identify which version of IP is being used, whether it is version 4 or version 6. Then header length will determine the length of the total header, and the type of service will determine the type of data, which type of data it is, either it's video, audio, or which type of data. Then there is a TTL or we call it time to live, which will determine for how many maximum number of hop this packet has to remain alive, and it will decrement after every hop. So if any packet who has a TTL of 0, it means it has to be discarded, it means it has been outdated. So for upper layer protocol, in order to deliver the packet to upper layer payload delivery, and we have a total datagram length in bytes as well, and these fields are used for fragmentation and reassembly of packets, 16-bit identifier, flags, and fragment offset. And we have a optional field for time step to record the route, which route this packet has taken so far, and specify the list of router it has visited. And our concern here is the 32-bit source IP and destination address and the header checksum. So how much is the total overhead? 20 bytes of TCP, 20 bytes of IP, which includes the 40 bytes of overall overhead, and plus the application layer overhead, if any. So in IP addresses, first octet or the first bytes determine the class of IP address. There are 4 classes in an IP address version 4. First class is called class A, and in IP addresses classes we have something called a network part or a network portion, and then host part or the host portion. With the network part will determine how many network devices or the routers can be connected if this IP address is been assigned, and the host part will determine the number of hosts that can be accommodated in this type of IP address. So the A class IP, which will be determined by the first octet. If A class IP, it will consist of 1 byte of network for network and 3 bytes for host. And for B class of IP, it will consist of first it will have 2 bytes for network and 2 bytes for host, and the class C will have 3 bytes for network and 1 bytes for host, and class D has or 4 bytes for the host. And usually class D addresses are used for multicast groups, and they can basically there is no need to allocate the octets or bits to represent the network and the host address, and class E is reserved for research purposes only. So how the address classes in IP version 4? Why we because the address space is 32 bits, so the number of addresses that can be generated possibly are 2 raised to power 32, which means 4.2 billion possible addresses can be generated in a version 4 IP. So there are 5 different address classes: A, B, C, D and E. So कमर्शियली तौर पे हम लोग सिर्फ 3 क्लासेस को यूज़ करते हैं. अच्छा, क्लास कैसे पता चलेगी हमें एड्रेस की, किसी भी IP एड्रेस की? तो फर्स्ट 4 जो बिट्स होती हैं, फर्स्ट 4 वो आपको डिटरमाइन करके देती हैं आपके पास IP एड्रेस की क्लास. क्लास ए जो IP होगा वो स्टार्ट होगा 0 से, अगर उसको हम लोग कन्वर्ट करें बाइनरी के अंदर, या अगर डेसिमल की बात करें तो डेसिमल में जो रेंज ऑफ क्लास ए होगी वो स्टार्ट होगा 1 से लेके 126 तक. ठीक है, 0 IP एड्रेस नहीं होता. 0 IP एड्रेस जो होता है वो बताता है कि नेटवर्क पे डिवाइस अभी कनेक्टेड नहीं है. 1 to 7 जो होता है वो लूप बैकिंग के लिए यूज़ किया जाता है. तो ये 2 IP एड्रेस नहीं होते. अच्छा, क्लास बी जो होगी वो स्टार्ट होगी बाइनरी के अंदर 10 से, या अगर डेसिमल की बात करें तो 128 से लेके 191 तक. 1 to 7 यहाँ पे स्किप हुआ है वो इस वजह से क्योंकि 1 to 7 जो है वो आपके पास लूप बैकिंग के लिए यूज़ होता है. क्लास सी जो है उसका स्टार्टिंग जो बाइनरी एड्रेस होगा वो 110 होगा, या 192 से लेके 223 तक डेसिमल के अंदर. क्लास डी जो है वो 1110 बाइनरी के अंदर, या 224 से लेके 239 तक. और क्लास ई में चारों आपके पास 1 होते हैं जो कि स्टार्ट होगी 240 से लेके 254 तक. अच्छा, ये आपको क्लासेस बताती हैं कि नंबर ऑफ नेटवर्क डिवाइसेस कितनी हो सकती हैं और होस्ट एड्रेस कितने हो सकते हैं. सो इन केस ऑफ क्लास ए 1 byte 1 byte is for network, which means 8 bits are for network. This means 2 raised to power 8 routers can be accommodated, which means 256 routers can be accommodated for class A. And in class A there are 24 bits for subscriber, so that means 2 raised to power 24 subscriber can be handled. And for class B, 16 bits are for network, which means 2 raised to power 16 network can be made, and 8 bits are for 16 bits are for host. And in class C, there are 24 bits for network and 8 bits are for host. So in class D, all the bits are for host. So let's continue and let's look at the concept of subnet. In subnet, what basically subnet is a sub part or a small portion of a network. Assume this example. In this you can see there are 3 sub parts, or we call it subnet or subnets of this network. You can see this is the first part, and this is the second part, and this is the third part. So IP address, you can see each subnet or each sub part of a network has a different starting IP address. In order to determine whether this host belong where this host is belong to, so each subnet has its own starting address. So IP address will be determine the connected subscriber or the connected subnet. So this network consists of 3 subnets, and you can see each network has a different starting IP address in order to determine from which sub part of the network or which subnet this belong. In order to determine the subnet, we will reattach each interface, and it will call be a isolated network, and each isolated network is called a subnet. And in this case you can see the subnet mask. I forgot to mention, in IP address there is a subnet mask. Let's discuss it here. So it will be appropriate if we discuss it. So the starting IP address for class A is 1, and it can end up to 126. So subnet or the subnet mask will determine from which class it belongs. So for class A, any class A IP address will have this subnet mask 255.0.0.0. So subnet mask will show you how many bits are for the network portion and how many bits are for the host portion. So as you can see, the class A has a subnet mask of 255, which means first 8 bits are for the network. So it means the class A has a subnet mask of 255. It means the network part is consisting of 256 possible combinations. So the subnet mask for class A is 255.0.0.0. So for class B, the subnet mask will be 255.255. As the network part is growing, you can see the subnet mask also growing as well. So 0.0.0. Okay. So for class C, 255, there will be 3255 and 10. So this will determine which class you are assigning an IP. Subnet mask basically will determine the class of an IP address, or it will help in masking of an IP address. So in this case, the IP address belongs to class C. So for class C, there are 24 bits for the network. So the subnet mask is /24, or simply 255.255.255.0. Or you can see for a class full address, basically we haven't changed the classes, we haven't modified the original class. So this called of addressing scheme is called a class full address. This belongs to class C, and it will be this type of notation is called a CIDR notation, in which we represent how many bits are for the network portion. So in IP address, the notation usually used to represent a standard IP address is called class/inter-domain routing. It will basically represent how many subnet portion are assigned to a network or an arbitrary length, and the address format is usually in this format: A point B point C point D. It will determine your IP address, and /x will determine the network portion or network bits of an address. So you can see, if we have assigned 23 bits for the network bits, basically we have borrowed some bits, 1 bit from the network part in order to accommodate the host. We have borrowed 1 bit, so the network part is reduced to 23 bits. So this called of this type of addressing, or this type of notation is called a class/inter-domain routing, in which the class has been disturbed. And this type of scheme is called a subnetting, in which why we do subnetting, in which we do in order to provide the flexibility for the network administrator, we do the subnetting. What are the reasons for subnetting? Firstly, in order to provide the flexibility to the network administrator to accommodate the number of hosts, and in order to accommodate many networks or many subnets in a local area network. Subnetting is a technique that can be utilized to accommodate many networks or many subscribers. So subnetting will provide a broadcast containment and a low level security on a local area network, and also it will provide through which it will be available only through the service of a router. So to summarize a subnetting, I have found a chart. If and here I would like to mention that subnetting is done only for class C address. So if you are using a /25 format, it means you have borrowed 1 bit from the host part. So the mask will be 128, ending mask will be 128, and number of bits are being borrowed are 1, and the value of number of hosts are reduced to 128. And in case you have borrowed 2 bits, the subnet mask will be changed to 192, and you can see this so on. Let's do an example here for subnetting. Suppose this is your IP address 192.168.1.1/24. okay, this is a class C IP address, and its class hasn't been changed. So in this case, you can see there are 8 bits for host and 24 bits are for network. So it means you can form only one network, or only one huge network will be formed. In order to accommodate many networks or many subnets, in order to create many subnets, we do subnetting. Let's assume I want to make 2 subnets in this. So what I will do here, I will borrow 1 bit. How I will determine, because the number of subnets, the formula for number of subnets is 2 raised to power m. Here m determines the number of borrowed bits. So in this case, if I want to make two subnets, which means I have to borrow 1 bit, because 2 raised to power 1 is 2. So I have to borrow at least 1 bit here, or exactly 1 bit here. So what I will do, where I will borrow 1 bit, I will be borrowing it from the host part. So the IP address will remain the same. We do not need to change the IP address if we are doing subnetting. But if we are not doing subnetting, then we have to shift from class B either to class C to either to class B or class A, not to accommodate many hosts or many networks. So what I will do here is I will borrow 1 bit in order to remain on the same IP address. 1 bit from the host, and my network will have 2 subnets. How? Let's see. The subnet mask will be changed to 255.255.255, as I have borrowed 1 bit, so it will be changed to 128. How? Let's convert into the binary. You will understand how. The binary of first 8 will be something like let me convert it for you. So 192, okay, listen, 192, the binary of 192 is this, and the binary of 168 is something like this, and the binary of 1 will be 1, and next one. So I have borrowed 1 bit, something like this. It will be the first portion is of 192, let's call it x. Second portion is of 168, also x, and x. Third portion is of 1. So there are 7 zeros, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1. This will be the binary, and this will be the binary for 0, 0, 1 for the second part of. So this is the conversion of IP address to the decimal to the binary. And for the classful, if this is a classful IP, then the classful IP will have a subnet mask of 255.255.255.0. So 255 will have a binary of 8 ones, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So basically what I am doing here is converting the classful subnet mask, or the original class subnet mask, to the binary 255.255. So this was our given IP address, and this was our given subnet mask. So in order to convert into the subnetted mask, This will be our next two portions, same as well, and 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 and 8 ones, and for 0 there will be 8 zeros. So what I am doing here is I am borrowing one bit from the host part, which are basically 8 zeros here. So the resulting subnet mask will be I have make the most significant bit, or I have borrowed this bit to be 1. So the resulting subnet mask will be something like that, 1 and there will be 7 zeros, 3 4 5 6 and 7. So I have borrowed one bit from the host part, so this bit has been set it to 1. So the resulting subnet mask, if I converted it back into the decimal, so the resulting subnet mask will be something like this. So this is the resulting subnet mask. So it will be used for subnetting. So in this case, the network has been divided into two portions. How it has been divided: the starting IP address of first subnet will be from 192.168.1.1 to 126 and to 127, and second subnet mask will have, so I will basically write it down here. Subnet number 1 will have starting IP of 1.1 to 127, and the subnet mask number 2 will have the starting IP from 192.168, 1.128 to 255. So we have divided a huge network into two subnets, so that will accommodate our subnetting portion, and it will help in more flexibility, or it will provide a more flexible way to accommodate the many networks in a subnet, in a basically many subnets in the network. And also we haven't changed our IP address to other class. So how the IP address are assigned? How does our system gets the IP address? Yes, it can be hard coded by an administration in a file. For example, if you want to statically assign the IP address to each host, suppose you have 100 hosts, then you have to visit each host, or you have to write a code for each host and then hard code it onto the systems. So in order to simplify this, we have a protocol called Dynamics Host Configuration Protocol, DHCP. It basically is it is run at a server, so when it dynamically assign the free IP address to the to the requesting host. So you get a dynamic IP from DHCP server, and basically just you plugs in your network cable and simply you get an IP address. So where you get an IP address, you get it from the DHCP server, which is giving you dynamic, which is maintaining a list of free IP address available in the subnet or a network. So it assign a free or a free IP address from a pool of IP address. So what does a DHCP protocol do is our goal here is to allow host to dynamically obtain its IP address from a network server whenever it joins the network. So it can renew the lease on an address, and it can also help in reuse of IP address only when it is connected on, and it can help the mobile user who want to join the network for a short while. And how it works, basically first the requesting party or the host will broadcast a DHCP discover message. The server of DHCP will reply with a DHCP offer message, and the host will request for the IP address using a DHCP request message, and the server will reply using a DHCP acknowledge and will assign the IP address. So you can see this scenario here, that this is the new or the arriving client in this network. So it will request this server. Basically it will search for the server. So first two steps, the DHCP discover and DHCP offer, are basically are for discovery, and here the arriving client will say any available DHCP here, server here. So it will broadcast the DHCP discover message. So the reply will come from the DHCP relevant DHCP server that yes, I am available. That means the reply will be in form of DHCP offer. Let's see how the communication will work. So client will broadcast the message that discover message will be sent any DHCP server out there. This will be format, and yes, the DHCP server will record yes, I am a DHCP server. Here is your IP address you can use. So DHCP request will be sent by the client. Yes, offer me. Let's take that IP address, and the DHCP acknowledgement will become from the server that yes, this is okay. It is free, and you can have your IP address. So DHCP can return yes, it can return more than just allocated the IP address. Firstly, it will determine the name IP address of a DNS server, and the network masking can be done here in order to indicate which part of network you are using against the host part of address. So this was to assign each host, and how the routers or the ISP, the internet service provider, get their IP address. Basically they have a fixed IP address, or we call it network static IP address. How they get their static IP, or basically they get it from ICANN, the Internet Corporation for Assigned Networks, assigned numbers and names. So this basically allocates the IP addresses and manages the DNS, and assign domain names, resolve the disputes. So suppose you want you do not want to show your original IP address to the other subscriber connected on the internet. In order to protect your home network from the outsiders, or in order to protect your IP address without being known to the outsider, we have a protocol called network address translation. नेटवर्क एड्रेस ट्रांसलेशन क्या करता है कि आपका जो ओरिजिनल IP एड्रेस होता है या जो आपके सबनेट का IP एड्रेस होता है उसको बताता नहीं है बाकी सारे इंटरनेट को. क्या करता है कि अपने पास एक लिस्ट या ट्रांसलेशन लिस्ट मेंटेन करता है, जिसमें आपका ओरिजिनल सबनेट का IP एड्रेस यहाँ पे होता है, और क्योंकि आप इस इंटरफेस से कनेक्टेड होते हैं, तो क्या करता है राउटर कि अपने पास एक लिस्ट मेंटेन करता है, और उसमें ओरिजिनल IP एड्रेस और जिस इंटरफेस से नेक्स्ट से कनेक्ट होता है इंटरनेट से, वो IP एड्रेस मेंटेन करता है. और बाकी दुनिया के लिए जो है वो आप इस IP एड्रेस से अप्रोच हो सकते हैं, क्योंकि ओरिजिनली आपका जो IP एड्रेस होगा वो कुछ और हो सकता है. तो नेटवर्क एड्रेस ट्रांसलेशन जो है वो इस वजह की जाती है ताकि आपको प्रोटेक्ट किया जाए बाकी दुनिया से. तो विदाउट बीइंग नोन टू द अदर वर्ल्ड रेंज ऑफ इसकी वजह से भी हम लोग जो है रेंज ऑफ IP एड्रेस इसके हमें नीड नहीं करते ISPs की. सो इट कैन चेंज द एड्रेस ऑफ अ डिवाइस इन लोकल नेटवर्क विदाउट नोटिफाइंग द आउटसाइड वर्ल्ड. सो इन ऑर्डर टू accommodate more subscriber we can do this, and it can change the ISP without knowing the address of local device. Basically it's security plus advantage as well. So in order to implement the NAT router, what it will do, it will determine the outgoing datagrams and will replace the source IP of the every outgoing datagram to the NAT translated IP address and the new port, and the receiving response or the server response will be received on this IP on the NAT IP address and will be sent to the destination, and it will remember the address translation table, and whenever an incoming datagram is coming to the host or the destination, then it will translate back and it will be doing the address translation at the receiving end as well. So that's all for today. Inshallah we will meet on tomorrow. Allah Hafiz for now.